Rule the day the plant-based way with the new vegan mixed berry from Smoothie King. Powered by whole, non-GMO fruits, oat milk, and vegan protein, it's a dairy-free, plant-based smoothie you can feel great about. With 13 grams of protein and half your daily fiber, it's an easy way to get the essential nutrients your body craves. Skip the line and order online for pickup or delivery. Smoothie King. Rule the day.
Thank you for joining us for a bonus of episode of Journey On. This is just a small bonus of a continuation of my talk with Nanette Kirsch, the author of Denial. And she has brought her husband, Craig, onto the show as well to give his experience, strength, and hope as a supporter of his wife and her experience as an abuse survivor and as an author. And Craig, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, DJ.
I think it's important to hear the spouse's perspective. What can you offer our audience?
Well, I can offer that, like Nanette, it's been a journey. I've been somewhat of a spectator, but also a participant in a way, just watching her get better and healing and learning more about the impact of abuse throughout all of our society.
Wow. What toll has it taken on you?
Well, that's a good question. There's part of me it's hurt that my wife was hurt at a young age. So there's a lot of empathy. And there's also hope, seeing that by shedding a light on secrets that society convinces us are better off not told, and by just tackling it head on, you can see the healing process. And we've seen it both in our relationship and overall in our life and how we look at others.
Wow, that's true. I mean, I think there are a lot of spouses out there who may suspect that something's going on for their loved one and may be fearful of even addressing that. But from what Nanette shared with us earlier, you came to her and were really direct, but also compassionate about, wanting to address the issues that were going on in your family. So can you talk about what tools you used in order to get to that place where you came to her and said, hey, this is something that's going on, we need to work on it?
Well, I wish I was that good. It was years, and the tool on me, particularly from a intimacy standpoint, was one of me feeling unwanted. And it was only through communications, through shedding the light on the secrets, that I realized it wasn't me directly causing the lack of intimacy, but more experience that needed to be understood. It needed to be understood compassionately and empathetically, and then working together in that healing process. But there was a lot of, unfortunately, a lot of years of pain that the spouse of the victim suffers with very little understanding of why.
And I should add, the abuse wasn't a secret in our marriage. I had disclosed that to Craig before we got married, but it's the understanding of that it was still having an impact wasn't on my radar. I don't think it was on his either. I think we were ignorant to the fact that was the source that was still reverberating through our marriage. And in therapy, for me, I think one of the pivotal moments was when my therapist helped me confront the fact that my unwillingness to deal with my pain, to confront, kind of engage in my own healing, had harmed my husband. And to actually own that and apologize to him was really, it was healing for me, to say, gosh, I wasn't in this alone. I allowed this to impact you. And that came at a cost. And I don't know, it's not in a shaming way. It was actually a blessing to just say, this is not going to continue to have power over either of our lives anymore.
Right. Yeah. And I heard Craig say that you know, it wasn't about him either, but it felt like it. I think what I heard in the beginning, and that maybe self-esteem was injured as a result. And I'm curious if you have done your own personal work to work through that.
Well, that's an ongoing project, right?
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, I probably have not done as much as I can proactively. I've taken on a role of I think and I hope of more understanding of where she was, and you know, to go back for just a minute, you know, Nanette is she's a strong woman, and she had put this behind her. That was kind of both of our thoughts. Was, look, this is behind me. This happened 20, 30, whatever years ago, right? Depending on the time of our marriage. And we both believed that. We fell into that trap of believing that. And so the biggest thing that I think I can do for her is to understand her, support her in making this public, which, you know, isn't always an easy thing. I give her a ton of credit, and see God's way of helping her, having her story help others, and also the story of David Wagner in denial. So I don't know. I've got a lot of work, DJ. I still have a lot of work. I'm early on in the process. I'm just kind of, I guess, supporting her and maybe not doing all that I can do.
Well, you're a work in progress. You're a work in progress, just like all of us, and I think that's what our listeners appreciate when people come onto the show to share their experience, strength, and hope, is because we're real. You know, we're coming in and telling our truth as best we can, and we're not perfect, and we don't have to be perfect. There is no perfect, and so the fact that you're willing to share these difficulties and these experiences and the hope that you have as a result of working through this, that is good enough, right? And I appreciate that you wanted to come on and share this experience. I'm wondering how, since the book has been out, and you know, your wife did write that one sentence about her experience, has anyone come to you and said anything about that, and how have you responded?
Yeah, so from a friend's perspective and people that we know, nobody's really addressed that. We've both used it as an opportunity to kind of set the stages. This isn't just a story about David Wagner. This impacts everybody, and it impacted Nanette, and it impacted me. From a family perspective, I think there was some shock that this wasn't something that was widely known, and the questions that you do get, and when you do get them, unfortunately, are ones that I had initially too, and they're kind of superficial, like, well, how much abuse, and those type of things. And looking back and knowing what I know, not those questions, but they're kind of natural. People want to put this in a box that there's different degrees. There's a little bit of abuse, there's more abuse, there's bad abuse. It's kind of all the same in the impact. If you've been abused, you've been a victim of people who are pretty good at doing this, and it's unfortunate. So most of the questions are out of a lack of understanding, and I hope that through her book and through her speaking, that people will get a better understanding of the impact this has on all of us.
Right. Yeah, I hope so too. I think that's important to mention the fact that it's usually a lack of understanding when we hear these questions that may be insensitive. And those are the questions that people ask. People ask probing questions. And I think it's to try to help themselves. But what they don't necessarily realize is that it is causing additional trauma. So folks, if you're listening, don't ask probing questions. Just listen.
So DJ, one story that's worth sharing, and this has happened a couple of times. And the first question I already touched on is, well, how much abuse was it? And that's, it's out of a lack of understanding, not meanness, that question gets asked.
Yeah.
But the other question is, how can this one event impact people 20, 30, 40 years later? And do you think that, I've had this question, do you think that what happened to David Wagner resulted in the events in his life? And my answer is typically this, and I wish I was smart enough to come up with it on my own, but I think it was inspired. But the answer is, I can't tell you if what happened to David Wagner resulted in the events of his life. But if you gave me a room full of sexual abuse victims, I can tell a lot. We can tell that they have more addiction, more divorce, more incidences of suicide. So it's hard to say, yeah, this impacted this person exactly this way. But if you gave a room full of people who were victims of abuse, there's a very, very clear pattern. And I don't think people understand.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think with more information and more survivors coming forward and sharing their experiences, we can learn to understand a bit more. I mean, even as a survivor myself, I'm still learning new things about how the brain is impacted and how addiction is influenced by trauma and all of these things that we still need more information on. I think as a society, we need more information. Scientifically, we need more information. Socially, we need more information. And I think by sharing how we are today, we're helping that cause.
I hope so. And to me, the greatest gift I see in this is the dialogue beginning. We've seen so many people, from her initial book launch, when she talked, to people who've read the book, who for the first time in their lives are willing to open that dialogue. And I think we as a society are better off, and I know for a fact that our children are better off. They're going to be safer knowing what this looks like, and they're going to be more likely to share those stories if they get in a situation they're going to recognize it.
I think you're right. Nanette and Craig, I wanted to ask you, how has your spirituality helped you during this time?
For me, it's been everything. I think the whole journey, as I shared, was prompted by a prayer, and I feel that God rescued me from my abuse. And that's not to say that He didn't rescue someone else. He didn't rescue David from the pain of his abuse. So those are bigger questions. But I think that I know I found God with David throughout his story. I know God was with me throughout mine. And, I believe the questions Craig asked me and the support and love and healing we found in our marriage is really a result of that faith. And, I want to say that with compassion for the fact that particularly for people who have been abused within church structures and church power, that's a complicated answer. But here's what I do know, that those are broken people, and there are broken people everywhere who do really bad things. Our God is very good, and He hurts with all of us when we suffer, and He's compassionate for that pain and suffering of that child. And I think as I came to recognize that God didn't abandon me in that situation. He was there ready to take my hand, and He's there for anyone in a survival situation when they're ready to bring that compassion and the healing that does not feel possible many times. It feels overwhelming. But for me, that's been really crucial. Thank you.
And Craig?
Well, I don't know what you add to that, PJ. I've seen God's work firsthand through Nanette's growth and the people that she's touched. And I don't know what else to add other than we could not do this journey without God beside us.
Well, I think that says a lot. Thank you to the both of you for being so willing and vulnerable today and sharing your experience, strength, and hope. I imagine that my audience is going to be so grateful for the two of you to be able to come on for this bonus episode and give us even more perspective about sexual abuse survival and what it's like to heal, and especially in relationships. And that's not something that we talk a lot about. And so I think it's important that we continue to have these conversations about what it's like to heal in a relationship when you've been a victim and now a survivor of abuse. So thank you so much to the two of you. I'm grateful to know you and to have been given the opportunity to read Denial. And listeners, go out and get Denial, denialbook.com, and Nanette is giving us a 15% discount on the book if you use promo code JourneyOn. Go out, read it, leave reviews on Amazon, and share it with people you love.
Today's specials, new Chase Freedom Flex with 3% on dining, including takeout. Now every meal comes with a side of cash back. Learn more at chasefreedom.com. Cards are issued by J.P. Morgan Chase Bank N.A., member FDIC. Restrictions and limitations apply. Offer subject to change.
The available AKG 36-speaker sound system in the Cadillac Escalade provides 360-degree sound, not just here or here, but everywhere. The 2021 Cadillac Escalade. Never stop arriving.